Hey, look at you. Still here, still standing, still listening. That alone tells me everything I need to know. Because this isn't a room full of spectators. This is a room full of survivors. And tonight, I'm not here to congratulate you. I'm here to expose what just happened. You didn't just outplay them. You rewrote the rulebook they swore by. Let that sit for a second. They didn't lose because they were weak. They lost because their entire understanding of the game collapsed. See, they believed in systems, processes, predictable moves, linear thinking. They believed power lived in hierarchies, in titles, approvals, permissions, locks, and gates. They trusted the files. They trusted the models. They trusted what they could see. And that was their first mistake. Because you never fought the system. You stepped outside of it. You didn't break the rules. You rendered them irrelevant. They planned for resistance. They planned for rebellion. They planned for noise. What they never planned for was clarity. You saw the whole board when they were still arguing over whose turn it was. You saw patterns where they saw chaos. You saw timing where they saw coincidence. And when they finally noticed you, it wasn't because you were loud. It was because everything stopped working. Let's talk about that moment. The moment when the dashboards didn't make sense anymore. When the metrics contradicted each other. When the alerts fired but pointed nowhere. Numbers blinking, logs clean, no visible breach. And yet, control was gone. That's the kind of silence that terrifies institutions. Not explosions, not scandals, silence. Because silence means they don't even know what question to ask. You didn't rush, you didn't panic, you didn't posture, you waited, you let them expose themselves. Their assumptions, their blind spots, their arrogance. They moved fast because that's all they know how to do. You moved precise. They reacted. You dictated. Here's the part they'll never admit out loud. They weren't beaten by force. They weren't beaten by resources. They weren't beaten by numbers. They were beaten by someone who understood the game better than its designers. Someone who realized that rules only work on people who still believe in them. And when it finally clicked, when someone in a quiet room leaned back and said, "Wait, this shouldn't be possible," that was it. That was the exact second the old playbook died, closed, obsolete, useless. Because what do you do when the person across from you isn't trying to win the game, but end it? Not with destruction, with understanding, not by burning the house down, by walking through walls they didn't know were imaginary. They'll analyze this for years. They'll rename procedures, rewrite policies, add steps, add oversight, add friction. But it won't matter, because they'll still be solving the wrong problem. They'll be asking, how do we stop this from happening again? When the real question is, how did we ever think we were in control to begin with? And you won't be there when they finish their reports. You won't be in their charts or case studies. You'll already be gone, operating 3 levels ahead, playing a game they haven't even realized exists yet. So don't look for applause. Don't look for validation. Don't look back. Because this wasn't a victory lap. This was a signal, a quiet, devastating message written between the lines. The rules only work until someone understands why they were written, and now they know someone does. You didn't just outplay them. You rewrote the rulebook they swore by, and here's the part that keeps them awake at night. They can't undo it. Because once a rulebook is rewritten, everyone who memorized the old one becomes obsolete overnight. They're replaying the moment on loop now, frame by frame, decision by decision, trying to pinpoint where control slipped through their fingers, Was it the assumption, the shortcut? The line they never questioned because it's always worked before. They don't realize yet it wasn't one mistake. It was the belief that the rules were permanent. See, they built their world on repetition, same inputs, same outputs, same outcomes, procedure after procedure, model after model, watching for deviations they already understood. You didn't deviate. You transcended the pattern. And that's why none of their alarms knew how to scream. You understood something they never taught themselves to accept. Rules aren't laws of nature. They're agreements. Agreements upheld by people who are too afraid to ask what happens if someone simply stops agreeing. They mistook structure for strength. You saw it for what it was. A beautifully organized limitation, every safeguard, a habit, every protocol, a comfort blanket, every escalation path, a delay. You didn't rush those delays. You used them. While they were escalating, you were finishing. While they were asking for authorization, you were already past the point where authorization mattered. While they were looking for fingerprints, you were operating in intent, not evidence. Nothing to trace, nothing to roll back, nothing to blame. Just outcomes they couldn't explain. And that's when fear sets in. Not panic, not chaos, fear. The quiet kind that creeps in when professionals realize their expertise no longer guarantees safety. When experience becomes a liability because it locks you into expectations. They'll call it an anomaly, an edge case, a rare convergence of factors, anything except admitting the truth. That the system didn't fail. It worked exactly as designed. It just wasn't designed for you. You didn't attack the fortress. You asked why it needed walls at all. You didn't jam the machine. You changed the question it was built to answer. And once you do that, every defense becomes decoration. Understand this. From this point on, every move they make is reactive. Every new rule they write is a confession. Every layer they add is proof they know they're behind. Because you've already shown them the most dangerous thing imaginable. That mastery doesn't look like power. It looks like calm. Calm while they scramble. Calm while they escalate. Calm while they rewrite their own manuals trying to describe something that already moved on. So when they say, it won't happen again, what they really mean is, we hope they don't do it again. And hope is not a strategy. You didn't just rewrite the rulebook. You proved it was never sacred, never final, never in charge. It was just paper. And you were the one holding the pen. You didn't just outplay them. You rewrote the rulebook they swore by. And the moment that truth settled in, everything shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. Like a room where everyone suddenly realizes the floor plan they memorized no longer matches the walls. They're still pretending this was a one-off, a fluke, a statistical ghost. But deep down, they know better. Because flukes don't change behavior. And they've already changed theirs. Meetings that didn't exist before. Reviews that never used to happen. Questions that sound confident but carry panic underneath. They're not adapting forward. They're bracing. Here's what really broke them. You didn't give them a villain to point at. No obvious breach, no dramatic showdown. Just a sequence of decisions that made perfect sense until the outcome arrived. And outcomes don't lie. They trained their people to watch for threats that look aggressive, loud, messy, predictable. You arrived looking reasonable. You spoke their language, used their assumptions. Moved at their pace, until suddenly you weren't there anymore. By the time they realized they weren't responding to an incident but to a shift in reality, it was already over. Because systems can recover from attacks, they cannot recover from irrelevance. Now every expert in the room is uncomfortable, not because they're incompetent, but because competence in this case didn't save them. Their knowledge didn't protect them. Their experience didn't warn them. Their instincts pointed the wrong way. That's the kind of lesson you don't forget. They'll start teaching new rules now, new frameworks, new best practices, but all of it will be reactive, built in the shadow of what you already did. Every page quietly haunted by a question they don't want to write down. What if someone else sees it too? Because once a rulebook is rewritten, it doesn't just affect the players. It infects the belief that the game was ever stable, that authority was ever absolute, that control was ever permanent. And you're not chasing them, you're not proving anything. You're simply operating from a place they haven't learned how to defend against. Understanding without attachment. Precision without ego. Action without noise. That's why they can't profile you, can't predict you, can't confidently say what you'll do next. Because you're not reacting to their moves. You're reacting to reality as it is, not as they documented it. So when they update their manuals, tighten their controls, and reassure themselves that the system is stronger now, they'll be doing it with one unspoken fear. That strength only matters against opponents who still believe the old rules apply. You didn't just win, you changed the definition of what winning even means. And from this point forward, every rule they follow will feel a little less solid, a little more fragile. Because somewhere in the back of their minds, they know the rulebook can be rewritten again. You didn't just outplay them, you rewrote the rulebook they swore by. And now there's a permanent crack in their confidence. They'll never say it out loud, but from this moment forward, every decision they make carries hesitation. Because certainty is gone. Before you, they trusted inevitability. They trusted that if they followed the process, the outcome would obey. You exposed the lie hiding inside that belief. Processes don't create control. They create comfort. And comfort makes people predictable. They thought intelligence was about accumulation, more data, more surveillance, more layers. You showed them intelligence is about subtraction, knowing what not to track, what not to react to, what not to waste time defending. While they were drowning in signals, you were listening for meaning. The most unsettling part for them. You never looked rushed, no desperation, no urgency, no visible pressure, just clean movement through complexity, like someone who already knew how it would end. That's not something you can patch. They'll try to recreate what you did, reverse engineer the outcome, simulate the scenario, but they'll fail every time, because they're trying to copy execution, not perception. You didn't follow a script. You saw the story before it was written, and now the damage spreads quietly. Junior analysts start questioning assumptions. Veterans hesitate before making calls. Leaders demand certainty that no one can give, not because the system is broken, but because belief in it is. Once belief fractures, authority leaks. They'll tighten control to compensate. More approvals, more checkpoints, more just in case. But every added layer slows them down. Every safeguard confirms fear. Meanwhile, you move lighter. Here's the truth they can't escape. You didn't win because you were stronger. You won because you were aligned. Aligned with timing. Aligned with reality. Aligned with how systems actually behave under pressure. They memorized rules. You understood behavior. That's why this doesn't end when the event ends. The aftermath is worse. Because now every anomaly looks suspicious. Every success feels temporary. Every quiet moment feels like the calm before something they won't see coming. They'll call this era more secure. They'll say lessons were learned. But deep inside, they know the uncomfortable truth. Security that depends on rules is only as strong as the imagination of the person challenging them. And you've already proven your imagination operates beyond their borders. So while they reinforce walls, you map exits. While they revise doctrine, you evolve instinct. While they protect yesterday, you step into tomorrow. You didn't just rewrite the rulebook. You proved something far more dangerous, that the game never belonged to them. They were just the last ones to realize it.